Let's talk about snakes and keeping our dogs safe if there's snakes out and about. Now, last summer, my Bordoodle encountered two venomous snakes, a brown and a tiger, and on both occasions, thankfully, she was on a leash and wasn't bitten. The first encounter, we were on a hiking trail. She was on a 1.7 metre lead and the snake was right there on the side of the path. And as she walked past the snake, which was about 30 centimetres away from her, she disturbed the snake. And then as I walked past, the snake was up in a strike mode and thankfully it didn't bite me as I walked past. The second encounter, I was pretty stupid and we went into a grassed area in the middle of summer. The grass wasn't long and she was on a 5 metre lead. Now I heard the snake hissing before I saw it. It was this huge curled up venomous tiger snake and luckily she was on a lead and I was able to pull her back towards me. Now I love taking dogs into nature, but when summer hits, I have to completely change the way that I exercise my oodles and the pet sit dogs. I can no longer go into grassed areas. I can no longer let my oodles off lead to explore, and I have to be on constant guard when I'm walking them as there are lots of snakes in my area. Now it blows my mind in summer when I'm out and about walking my oodles that there are still people letting their dogs off leashes when they could so easily encounter a snake and in that split second get bitten. Now to reduce the risk of my dogs or my pet sit dogs getting bitten during our walks, these are some of the steps that I take as that weather warms up and the snakes come out. So firstly, I start to stick to very well-maintained paths or trails where snakes are less likely to be found. So I tend to walk more on concrete paths in busier areas, and I no longer let my dogs walk in tall grass, dense underbrush, or rocky areas where snakes may be hiding. Secondly, I keep my dogs on a leash. So this is so that I can maintain control of my dogs, especially in areas where snakes might be present. Last summer when my Bordoodle encountered the tiger snake, she was on a leash and this allowed me to pull and steer her away from the snake. And when dogs are on leashes, this prevents them from running off into risky areas. I am constantly checking for snakes in and around us and in front of us as I walk the dogs. Like last summer, they can be right next to you on the path, sunning themselves, and if you aren't checking, you can almost step on them as you walk past. So by staying alert and scanning the environment, I want to spot a snake before my dogs do. I avoid peak snake activity times when they are out, which tends to be early morning and late in the afternoon. But I have read that some snakes hunt at night, so even then can be risky if you're wanting to walk your dogs at that time. Now, I am planning to train my dogs to avoid snakes. When my Bordoodle spotted the tiger snake, her prey drive kicked in and she was fighting me to get back to that snake. I have taught my dogs to leave it and to stay, but I think that they will need stronger training to avoid snakes. So far, I've not been able to get into professional snake avoidance training to teach my dogs to recognize and avoid snakes, but I have considered getting my own snake and just doing it myself. Now, in areas where snakes are common, such as along my local river path, I keep my dogs on a short leash to reduce the chance of them wandering into a snake's path. This way, I've got much more control and I can quickly react if I see a snake. Now, I live in a very suburban area, but there are lots of wetlands in my estate. And 2 weeks ago, our snake catcher caught a 1 metre tiger snake down the road at the children's park in our estate in a busy area. So as soon as it warms up, I avoid walking in snake-prone areas. We did discover a fantastic olive grove in winter that I could just let the dogs run around in off leash, but it's too risky now, even if they were leashed, as I'm sure it's going to be full of snakes. Now you can get your dog to wear protective gear such as a snake-proof vest if you frequently walk in snake-prone areas. So these vests can provide an extra layer of protection against bites, although I'm not sure what would happen if the snake bit a dog in an area not protected by the vest, such as the dog's face or the dog's legs. So I need to learn more about these snake-proof vests. It goes without saying that in summer I don't allow my dogs to investigate holes or burrows, as snakes often hide in holes, burrows or under rocks. And finally, be prepared for an emergency. Be familiar with the signs of a snake bite, such as sudden pain, swelling or puncture wounds, and have a plan for seeking immediate veterinary care if a bite occurs. So know the location of the nearest emergency vet clinic that can manage and treat snake bites. I have called vets in my local area last night, and I've spoken to them to check if they have anti-venom for snake bites for brown and tiger, and they do. So these are just some of the precautions I'm taking in summer to reduce the risk of my dogs encountering a snake and getting bitten during walks. I can't wait though for winter when I can finally let my dogs off leash again in long grass and they can run free and explore without being kept on short leashes and walked on concrete paths.